Thanos is great at a whole lot of things, but subtlety definitely is not one of them. We saw him use the Infinity Stones to wipe out half of all life in the universe, but apparently he wasn't content with stopping there. Thanks to a recent trailer, we learned he's used the Infinity Gauntlet yet again, but we don't know why just yet. Let's talk about what Thanos might be doing, and what this could mean for Avengers Endgame. It certainly seems as though the Infinity Gauntlet is the most powerful weapon in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, at least at the moment. It contains all 6 Infinity Stones, and is capable of pretty much any terrible thing the bearer can wish for. However, at the end of Avengers Infinity War, we were forced to wonder if the Infinity Gauntlet was still in fighting shape. After Thanos snapped his fingers and brought about the decimation, it looked as though the gauntlet had sustained heavy damage, if not destroyed outright, and Thanos looked as though using the gauntlet had taken its toll on him physically as well. Apparently, magical gauntlets made out of Uru metal don't come with safety precautions. Fans wondered if we'd see Thanos using the Infinity Gauntlet again, or if it could still be used at this point after sustaining such heavy damage. Wiping out half of all life in the universe was a pretty neat trick, so even if it was a one-time use item, it seems like Thanos got his money's worth out of it. And we have a feeling that Eitri doesn't exactly take returns, especially from people who mangle his hands and wipe out his entire race. Plus, Thanos had wanted to wipe out half of all life in the universe, and that's what he did. As far as we could tell from the trailers, he retired to a quiet life on a farm where he would presumably have no need for a massive magical and dangerous item like the Infinity Gauntlet. But something Black Widow said in a sneak peek of Avengers Endgame made us think twice about this. In one scene, we see Natasha Romanoff looking over a projection of a planet, remarking that Thanos used the Infinity Stones once more. That was pretty surprising, given what we know so far, but it also raised many questions, like what weird Infinity Stone detecting software is Natasha using? Did Thanos manage to use the busted-up Infinity Gauntlet? And perhaps most importantly, what did he use those stones for? One theory is that Thanos used the Infinity Stones to help him find the perfect location for a new home. After Avengers Infinity War, many fans assumed Thanos would return to his home planet, Titan. He may not have had the happiest childhood there, but it's still a place he could call home. However, the planet looks pretty devastated when we saw it during Infinity War, and not exactly the place you'd want to set up a farm on. Thanos might be a villain, but he's not an idiot, and apparently he's at least a marginally better farmer than John Marston. Where in the universe is the Mad Titan Thanos was a pretty popular question following Infinity War, and it's one the Russo brothers have addressed. Joe Russo claims that wherever Thanos is, it's definitely not Titan. He noted they've been calling Thanos' new home Titan 2, and that while he doesn't want to spill the details, it's important to know that it's not Titan. In the comic books, Thanos does also go off to farm on a place which is decidedly not Titan, but is also never named. The options for where Thanos could be are pretty much limitless, but we can make a couple of assumptions. The first is that it's probably not a heavily populated planet. Thanos has enemies everywhere, and while some of them might have refrained from attacking him directly out of fear, it seems like they have little to lose at this point. Nobody wants the Mad Titan moving into their neighborhood, so it's possible Thanos had to create his own little piece of paradise using those Infinity Stones. He could have selected a planet which was deserted or incompatible with life and used the Infinity Stones to make it suitable for farming. Of course, if this happened, he probably immediately realized he could have just wished for more resources instead of causing the decimation. It's okay, Thanos. Hindsight's 2020. Following Infinity War, Thanos has more enemies than ever, and fewer allies than we've seen him with. The Avengers, the Guardians of the Galaxy, and their allies may have lost the battle, but they did some serious damage to Thanos' resources. Most notably, they took out all of the Children of Thanos we've seen so far in the MCU. Even though he has the Infinity Gauntlet, it seems like it'd be in Thanos' best interest to lay low. Choosing an uninhabited planet which everyone thinks is barren would be a great place to hide, and with a snap of his fingers, he could make it suitable for farming. But just because we've seen him hang up his armor doesn't mean all of his fighting is behind him. As we mentioned earlier, Thanos has no shortage of enemies, and it's possible he's already had to defend himself. He wasn't exactly a popular guy before he caused the decimation, and we can't imagine people's opinions of him have improved following Infinity War. In that movie, we learned Thanos had wiped out the Nova Corps in order to take possession of the Power Stone that they were protecting. But is it possible that he missed one notable member of the team? We met Nova Corps soldier Roman Day in Guardians of the Galaxy, and he's an important character in the comic books. After Nova Corps gets destroyed, Roman Day is out for vengeance. but knows that his time is short, so he transfers his power and gear to a human teenager named Richard Rider. Richard then goes on to become a superhero who goes by the name Nova in honor of the Nova Corps. It's long been suspected that at some point Nova will join the MCU, and since we've already seen Roman Day, this seems pretty likely. Perhaps Roman Day did survive Thanos' attack, and will seek out the Mad Titan in order to get revenge. Thanos may have had to rely on the Infinity Gauntlet to protect himself from Roman's vengeance. Frankly, there's no shortage of characters who would love to take down Thanos right now, and have been left with nothing else to lose. But it's also possible that Thanos is going to be attacked by another villain that we haven't had the opportunity to meet yet in the MCU. Galactus is a majorly powerful character in the comic books who devours planets. While he's technically a villain because of the whole planet-eating thing, he's a bit different than other bad guys we've come across. He isn't malicious, and he isn't out for personal gain, revenge, power, or any of the other motivations we see so often in the MCU. He's just trying to survive and feed his insatiable hunger, and unfortunately for everyone, that means he has to consume planets. This villain is typically associated with the Marvel crime-fighting team, the Fantastic Four. He was even in the 2007 movie Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer. But for a long time, the rights to Galactus and the Fantastic Four were held by Fox. Thanks to Disney acquiring Fox, we could finally see Galactus make his MCU debut. Thanos caused a massive shift in the universe when he caused the decimation, and this could have very well drawn some unwanted attention. Perhaps seeing the universe in such a weakened state would make it appealing for somebody like, Galactus. Remember that even though Thanos is a cruel and terrible person, he did have a quasi-moral explanation for why he caused the decimation. It was the greater good excuse that people use when they want to do something horrible and not feel bad about it. He certainly won't want to see the universe destroyed, since in his mind he went through so much trouble to save it. He was even forced to sacrifice poor Gamora, who had the dubious honor of being Thanos' favorite child. There's no way Thanos wants that sacrifice to be for nothing, and we believe he'd fight Galactus with everything he has. As you've probably guessed by now, opposing Galactus is no simple task, and the firepower of the Infinity Gauntlet would be invaluable in that battle. In the comic books, Thanos does cause the decimation, but soon after he realizes that it probably wasn't the best call. He even switches sides and allies himself with the good guys in order to undo the decimation and ensure the Infinity Stones don't fall into the wrong hands. Yes, in the comics, Thanos realizes that maybe he went a little bit too far and tries to rectify the situation. Although the comics and movies have many substantial differences, we could still see some clues which could predict the events of Avengers Endgame. In the Infinity Gauntlet storyline, Thanos collects all of the Infinity Gems in order to cause the decimation, not because he wants to conserve resources, but because he wants to impress a chick. Well, by chick we mean the personification of death, but whatever. Eventually, the Infinity Gauntlet is stolen by Nebula, and other heroes realize that she's kind of a loose cannon who perhaps shouldn't have access to something so powerful. The Gauntlet and the stones end up in the possession of good guy Adam Warlock, who wants to use them to make the world a better place. While that sounds nice in theory, it's soon pointed out that if he goes through with his plan of making everyone less selfish and ambitious, people will basically just be animals with opposable thumbs. It's later determined that nobody should have access to so much power, so the Infinity Stones are split up and it's forbidden to ever use them together. Even Thanos comes to understand this and admits he knows he was unworthy of possessing such power. Is it possible the MCU version of Thanos could come to the same conclusion? After all, he did seem to be truly devastated by the fact that he had to sacrifice Gamora in order for his plan to come to fruition. Maybe wiping out half of all life in the universe isn't as great as he thought it would be, but he's given up too much to go back on his plan. Instead, he could have used the Infinity Stones to destroy the Infinity Gauntlet so nobody could use it, even himself. Thanos hasn't demonstrated his ability to be introspective before, but this doesn't mean he isn't capable of it. After losing Gamora and his Black Order, it's possible he's finally gained a new perspective. Thanos might also believe that destroying the Infinity Gauntlet would prevent it from being used against him. In the comic books, this is exactly what happens when Nebula gets a hold of it. Although Thanos is far away on another planet, he probably knows it's only a matter of time before someone tries to take him down or claim the Infinity Gauntlet for themselves. But they can't take your Infinity Gauntlet if you've already destroyed it. And even without it, Thanos is an incredibly formidable opponent who can stand up to nearly any threat. He's worked hard for years to cause the decimation, and he doesn't want to risk the possibility of all his hard work being undone. It'll definitely be interesting to see what Thanos' mental state is like during Avengers Endgame. He looked pretty broken at the end of Infinity War, and he might not be his usual self. We've also seen him inside the Soul World contained within the Soul Stone, where he encountered a version of an adorable little Gamora. Sure, he could use the Infinity Gauntlet and the Infinity Stones for pretty much anything, but he could also have used it to cling to the last remnant of his beloved daughter. Yeah, Thanos may show his love in a terrible, horrible way, but Infinity War proved that he does love Gamora. Losing her was devastating, and it's possible he could utilize the Soul Stone or perhaps the Time Stone in order to revisit his favorite daughter. It would be interesting to see a more complex side of Thanos as opposed to seeing him constantly depicted as a totally ruthless villain. And as we all know, using the Infinity Stones can have some unintended consequences. These things don't exactly come with an instruction manual, so it's likely that Thanos doesn't even understand the possible ramifications of toying with them. Could Thanos end up making things much worse by using the Infinity Gauntlet again? Or could he possibly make our heroes' jobs of taking him down even easier? What do you think is the reason Thanos uses his Infinity Gauntlet again during Avengers Endgame? Let us know what you think the Mad Titan is up to in the comments section below, and then click on that subscribe button for more videos from us here at CBR. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again next time.